We are starting today's deep dive with something genuinely compelling, maybe even a bit unbelievable. What if the answer to something like erectile dysfunction wasn't another trip to the pharmacy, but instead maybe just a simple 10-minute daily investment in yourself?
Yeah, it does sound almost too simple for a complex medical thing, doesn't it? But honestly, the sources we've looked at, we're talking solid research from places like Harvard, and those reports Medical News Today pulled together back in June 2024, they really force you to rethink the usual, the pill-first approach.
That's exactly right. So our mission today is to really get into the mechanics here. We're shifting the focus away from those temporary chemical fixes and looking at, well, building actual physiological strength. How strengthening specific muscles, ones we often ignore, can give results that actually genuinely rival medication.
Precisely. We're talking pure performance mechanics. This deep dive is all about giving you, the listener, the specific practical know-how. How to achieve what some of this research calls a kind of natural constrictor effect. How do these muscles actually get that control over blood flow? That's the big question we need to unpack.
Okay, let's start unpacking with that Harvard research,
Yeah.
because the scale of it is pretty important here. This wasn't a small study, right? Over 1,000 men involved.
That's correct. Over 1,000, all dealing with mild to moderate ED. And they weren't just told, go exercise more. It was structured.
Structured how?
Well, the exercise group had specific routines, generally looking at 30 to 60 minutes of activity about 3 to 5 times a week. And the results, they were really compelling. The guys in the exercise group showed, well, significant improvement. We're talking measurable jumps in their function scores.
Okay, significant. Let's break that down. Significant compared to what? Just slightly better than doing nothing, or?
No, much more than that. The improvements were actually comparable to what you typically see with standard prescription meds. But, and this is the really crucial part why we're doing this deep dive, the benefits for the exercise group. They lasted. They were still observable long after the official study period ended.
Wow, okay, so that's huge. That suggests actual repair, not just like temporary management. A pill gives you a short-term boost, right?
Yeah.
More nitric oxide, better flow for a bit. This sounds like the exercise is actually fixing the underlying mechanics, the system holding the blood in.
Exactly. It's physiological repair. You're literally building stronger muscle tissue and improving nerve control in a system that was maybe weak or compromised. You build a stronger foundation. And that brings us right to the how, the mechanism, which Medical News Today covered really well. The key seems to be targeting the pelvic floor muscles.
The pelvic floor. We hear that term a lot, but how does it actually work for maintaining an erection? Let's get specific.
Okay, think of it like this. These muscles form a muscular hammock at the base of your pelvis. But specifically for erections, they act like a crucial valve for blood retention. See, when blood rushes into the penis, into the corpora cavernosa to create the erection, these pelvic floor muscles need to contract. They squeeze down on the veins that would normally let that blood flow back out.
Ah, okay. So if those muscles are weak, the blood comes in, but the valve is kind of leaky, can't shut the door properly, and the erection just sort of fades away.
That's a perfect way to put it. A weak pelvic floor just can't compress those veins effectively. You get what's called venous leakage. Strong pelvic floor muscles, though, they act like that powerful internal clamp. That's the natural constrictor effect we mentioned. They trap the blood, maintain the pressure, keep things firm.
Fascinating. Right. Let's try and synthesize this. What are the main ways this actually works? You mentioned 3 physiological mechanisms for anyone who likes a clear breakdown. Mechanism 1 is all about the flow, right?
Right, the vascular component. This is the broadest benefit you get from just general exercise. Better circulation overall, less stiff arteries, healthier blood vessel linings the endothelium. It means more efficient blood flow everywhere, and that includes, crucially, the arteries supplying the penis. So better initial erection quality.
Okay, good start. Then mechanism 2 is the really targeted bit, the muscle strength part. This is where we get into those specific muscles, the bulbocavernosus and the ischiocavernosus. Did I get those right?
You got them. Yeah, they sound technical, but their job is absolutely vital. They are the lock and key, biologically speaking. The bulbocavernosus, for instance, helps with rigidity, sure, but its main role here is compressing that big vein, the deep dorsal vein that drains the penis. It traps the blood when you're aroused. The ischiocavernosus helps maintain that rigidity too.
Okay, so if we specifically strengthen those 2 muscles with focused exercises, we're literally upgrading the body's ability to lock that blood in place, independently of any, temporary chemical help. It's structural.
It's exactly a structural fix. And then there's mechanism 3, which connects the brain and body, the hormonal balance. Regular physical activity, especially when it combines strength work with stress reduction, is known to boost beneficial hormones, like testosterone, which, as we know, plays a huge role in libido and overall function.
And just as importantly, it fights back against the bad stuff, like cortisol.
Precisely. High levels of chronic stress hormones, cortisol especially, are just terrible for the delicate neurochemical dance needed for sexual function. So using exercise to manage that stress, it creates a much better hormonal environment overall.
This all sounds really positive, but it's strength training, like you said, not magic. What's a realistic timeline for someone starting this? We need to manage expectations.
Absolutely. Realism is key. Because you're changing muscle tissue, men typically start noticing, reliable, tangible improvements within about 6 to 8 weeks. That's with consistent, focused practice. But, and this is important for motivation, subtle changes might show up sooner, maybe a bit more confidence, better morning erections, maybe just feeling a bit firmer. Sometimes in as little as 2 or 3 weeks. Those early signs are great for keeping you going.
6 to 8 weeks. Okay, that feels like a reasonable commitment for something that could be a permanent fix. Now, you mentioned the Harvard study used longer workouts, 30 to 60 minutes, but we're talking about a streamlined 10-minute routine here. Isn't that cutting it down quite a bit? How does that still work?
That's a really good question, and it needs a bit of nuance. See, the original study showed that general exercise cardio, weights, definitely works. That hits mechanism 1, the blood flow, mechanism 3, the hormones. But new research really backs up the power of focused, high-intensity pelvic floor work. By zeroing in specifically on those key muscles, the bulbocavernosus and ischiocavernosus, you can get maximum muscular benefit in less time. It's about specialization. We're trading general time for highly specific focus.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Concentrated effort on mechanism 2. Right then, let's lay out the actual toolkit. The 10-minute plan. How does it break down?
Okay, we can split those 10 minutes into 3 distinct phases. Makes it easier to follow.
Phase 1. The warm-up, just 2 minutes. Goal is just priming the pump, right? Get the heart rate up a little, get blood moving. What kind of things?
Simple stuff. Jumping jacks, high knees, even just marching quickly in place. Anything to get you slightly warmer, get the circulation going before we ask those specific muscles to work hard.
Got it. 2 minutes warm-up. Then phase 2, the main event. The core pelvic floor work. 6 minutes for this.
Yes, 6 crucial minutes. And step 1 here is just finding the right muscles. If you're not sure, the easiest way is the classic test. Try to stop your urine flow midstream. That clenching feeling, that's the muscle group you want to isolate.
Okay, once you've found them, what's next? Basic Kegels.
Exactly. Start with the fundamentals. We suggest 3 sets of 10 repetitions. Contract those muscles firmly. You should feel it, but it shouldn't hold for about 5 seconds. And then, just as importantly, fully relax for 5 seconds. Technique is absolutely key here. You want to avoid squeezing your bum, your thighs, your abs. Focus purely on that feeling of lifting inward and upward, like an internal elevator going up inside your pelvis. If you feel your butt clenching or you're holding your breath, you're probably recruiting the wrong muscles or trying too hard.
Okay, inward and upward lift, got it. After the basic holds.
Then we move to build some speed and endurance. Pulsing Kegels. These are quick, sharp contractions, just 1 second on, 1 second off. Aim for about 20 pulses in a row. This helps build that fast twitch muscle response needed for maintaining rigidity during activity.
Right. Basics, then pulses. What's the final part of this core 6 minutes?
Integration. This is where we link that specific muscle work to overall core strength. We use bridge holds combined with Kegels. So lie on your back, knees bent, feet flat. Lift your hips up into a stable bridge pose. Hold that bridge steady. And while you're holding it, perform your slow, deliberate Kegels, 5 seconds on, 5 seconds off.
Why the bridge hold? What does adding the glutes and core achieve here?
Good question. Because the pelvic floor doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's part of your core system. Integrating the glutes and core makes the pelvic floor strength functional. You're training it to work while the rest of your core is stabilizing you, like it would during movement. Start trying to hold the bridge for maybe 30 seconds while doing the Kegels. Work up to 60 seconds. Aim for about 3 rounds of this integration exercise.
Okay, that covers the intense 6 minutes. Warm up, core work. What's phase 3, the last 2 minutes?
Phase 3 is the finisher. Just 2 minutes focused on cooling down a bit and promoting flexibility. Think gentle leg swings, some nice hip circles, maybe some deep diaphragmatic breathing. It helps release any tension you might have built up in the hips and keeps the blood flowing nicely.
10 minutes total. Warm-up, core work, finisher. Seems manageable.
Hmm.
Let's talk about making it stick, though. Consistency and troubleshooting. This is often where things fall apart with new habits. What's the golden rule for consistency with pelvic floor work?
Consistency definitely trumps trying to do too much, too intensely. But remember, these are muscles. They need rest to recover and get stronger. So we generally recommend aiming for 5 days a week, take 2 days off. Trying to do it every single day might actually lead to fatigue and slow down your progress. Rest is productive.
Makes sense. And what are the common pitfalls, the mistakes people make? You mentioned one earlier, using the wrong muscles.
That's number one for sure. Clenching your glutes hard, sucking in your stomach, holding your breath. If you're doing any of that, you're not isolating the pelvic floor properly. The fix is actually counterintuitive sometimes. Ease off. Try contracting at maybe 30% effort instead of 100%. Focus on that subtle inward lift. And breathe normally. If you can't breathe easily, you're straining too much, you should be able to hold a conversation doing these.
Good tip. Breathe normally. And the second big mistake, just being impatient.
Exactly. We touched on it, but it's worth hammering home. This isn't instant. You wouldn't expect huge biceps after 2 weeks in the gym. Same principle here. Respect that 6 to 8 week time frame for noticeable, consistent results. Be patient with the process. And we absolutely have to add a critical health note here. While this routine is fantastic for issues like venous leakage or general muscle weakness, if you have significant unmanaged underlying health problems like, say, uncontrolled type 2 diabetes, serious hormonal issues, really high blood pressure, those things can definitely interfere. They impact blood flow and healing potential system-wide. So this routine works best when it's part of an overall healthy lifestyle, managing those other conditions too.
Right. A holistic approach is always better. So how do people actually fit this 10 minutes into a busy life without it feeling like another chore?
Habit stacking, or habit pairing, is the absolute key. Link these exercises to something you already do automatically every day. Do the basic Kegels while your coffee brews. Do some pulses while you're stopped at a red light, maybe during the TV commercials. The isolated holds and pulses are basically invisible to anyone else. It makes the no time excuse pretty hard to justify.
Sneak it in.
Yep.
I like it.
Okay.
Okay, what about for people who get really good at this? They've mastered the basics. They can hold a strong Kegel, perfect form. What's the next step? Is there an advanced level?
Oh, absolutely. Once you have really good control and awareness, you can introduce resistance. The classic advanced technique is often called a weighted Kegel. Though you don't need actual gym weights, you lie on your back, maybe drape a small light towel over the erect penis, and then try to lift that towel using only your pelvic floor muscles. It gives you amazing biofeedback and builds serious functional strength.
Interesting. Okay, one last practical question. What if someone is already using prescription medication for ED? Can they do this too? Is it complementary?
Yes, definitely. And it can be highly complementary. Think about it. This routine improves the actual muscle strength and the local blood flow capacity. So the body is often just better prepped to respond effectively to medication if it's still needed. Many men find they actually get better results from their meds. Or sometimes over the long haul, they might find they need a lower dose because their baseline function has improved so much. However, and this is crucial, you absolutely must talk to your doctor before changing anything about your prescribed medication. Non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Always consult your doctor.
Okay.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We've talked about the physical side, better blood flow, stronger muscles, better hormones, real tangible performance gains. But what about the mental side, the psychological impact?
That's often where people notice the first changes, actually. Even before the full physical results kick in, just knowing you're taking positive action can boost self-confidence. It can reduce that performance anxiety loop. So my advice is, focus on those early wins. Notice if your posture feels a bit better from the core work. Notice if you feel a bit stronger down there. Use those feelings of control and progress to motivate you through those initial 6 to 8 weeks.
It really comes down to that small investment, doesn't it? 10 minutes a day. Honestly, most of us probably spend more time than that just figuring out what to watch on Netflix, like we joked about. If the research suggests this kind of focused effort can genuinely rival a temporary pill with a potentially permanent fix, well, why wouldn't you give it a shot? Try it consistently for, say, 30 days. See what difference those 10 minutes can make.